Hilton brings you new ways to stay. With experiences that let you capture the glory days. Introducing the Graduate Hotels. Each inspired by local college towns, these stays are always original and never boring. Get in touch with traditions all across the country and enjoy a stay that's a class above the rest. Book at Graduate Hotels with Hilton Honors Points at Hilton.com. It's a win-win. Hilton, for the stay.
Welcome back to Realistic Sustainability. This is where we usually say, welcome to an educational short. But this week, I've noticed that Nick and I have a lot of tangents in some of our shows. So, welcome to this week's Tangents. Tangents are when we just can't seem to stay on topic. And that happens probably more than you think. For an example, this tangent was during our automation episode. That episode was extremely long. Not the part that you got, but the part that I was able to pull 2 full tangents out of. So, although it's still a good conversation, and it's something that really needs to be heard, we decided to pull it out and put it during a short. So, I hope you enjoy this week's tangent.
Absolutely. And the grid it does. We talked about the infrastructure has to be upgraded. Make these necessary changes. Personally, for me, I'm always going to be an advocate of solar roads. I got hooked on that video years ago and thought it was the greatest thing I'd ever seen.
And I've met the owner, by the way, at the Makers Fair in Detroit.
Really?
Fantastic people. Absolutely fantastic.
I didn't know that. You didn't tell me that. You're bogarting on the good stuff. You did not.
Hey, pictures on my Facebook, man. I can prove it.
There's a lot of pictures on your Facebook. I don't doubt it. I'm just sad now. I'm sad I didn't get to go. When it comes to like the solar roads and that kind of infrastructure, I don't know if I would necessarily recommend doing the roads, but I think all state and all national parks, parking lots and walkways and bike paths, anything that's paved that doesn't have a 1,000-pound vehicle on it should definitely be like that. There's even the sidewalks in Frankenmuth they're not solar powered, but they're heated. It wouldn't have been a hard stretch to do that. I mean, I'm sure they've been like that for a long time, but if they can do it with concrete, then why not do it with solar?
What Frankenmuth did was a lot like, because Holland was the first to do that. Holland has done it with their streets and stuff. But what I think cool about solar roads is now you live in like the world of Tron. If you have a festival during the summertime, you can light up the roads. You can put words that say something is this way. It is. To me, it's just cool. I would love to take Durand and just that one strip where the businesses are, just rip it all out and put it in, because I think it would take kind of that older town look and just all of a sudden at night, it's like Vegas.
You know how much fun I would have if I had the control panel for that? Someone throws a cigarette on the floor, just type in, pick it up.
Well, and you know what? And we make jokes about my old town, but it's not. There's a lot of young people, and there's a lot of people who've lived here for a long time who like seeing the progress. We have that clock tower at the end of our road right there in Main Street.
Yeah.
And it is now lit up with colored LEDs. It is now, it's bright. They've got that thing all dialed up. So I know it's not something people would definitely shy away from, because people love the clock tower. And that's an old piece of history. The thing is getting people to change. Right now, we have had a massive snowstorm, and my Facebook is nothing but people yelling about wind turbines frozen in Dallas. But what they don't realize is the ones in Michigan are still turning, the ones in Canada, the ones offshore in Canada are still turning, because there's different kinds of wind turbines. There's some with heating elements that work under negative 30 degrees. You don't buy those for Dallas.
Are you telling me that they bought machines to work in hot weather that were never prepared for cold weather because the state doesn't get cold weather? Are you telling me that? Is that what you're saying?
And then team sports websites, and I don't mean like the Tigers, I mean team sports like Red and Blue, start arguing about energy when they're not qualified to discuss it. And I know I do this all the time, and I'm going to apologize now because it is in the book. I do bring this up. Joe Barton, Texas. When I think of congressmen, or when I think of policymakers talking about energy, this is an individual who said wind is a finite resource, and that the temperature of the earth is hotter because we have too many wind turbines. Now, what he meant was putting them in front of a city blocks the wind from getting to that city, increasing the heat island effect that you can get in the city, which is a slim chance that it can happen. That is, if you plan everything wrong. What he said was wind is a finite resource, which is a fundamental misunderstanding of where the heck wind comes from, because if the sun disappears in 8 minutes, no one cares.
Well, there's that. So let me get this straight. Wind turbines around the city are going to block the wind. Cities are filled with giant, huge buildings.
Yes.
That are way bigger than turbines.
They already have a heat island effect that happens naturally in large cities.
Just wanted to put that out there because, I'd say common sense, but I guess not.
Well, because here's the deal. What you're seeing on the news, what you're hearing from people who have an agenda is usually almost like true at the specific view. Okay. That's the new way to do things. Be right by my perspective. And that isn't the global perspective. That isn't normal. That isn't even remotely close to normal.
That is what I call fact fishing. You pick a narrative and then you just fish out the supporting things for your narrative that justify what you're saying. And in your perspective and narrative, everything you're saying is right. And that's kind of like opening a book, picking a random page, picking out a fact on that page, and then saying the whole book is about that. Well, it's really not. You're just, looking at the corner piece when the puzzle's 5,000 pieces. It's frustrating. And what's more frustrating is that people they see that and they hear that and they're influenced by it. And it's almost like once they're imprinted with that negativity, it's an act of nature to change it. And it's horrible and it's depressing just for the simple fact that all we're talking about is clean energy. We are not talking about turning the power off to your house and putting you in an ice age. We're not talking about, telling you that you can't have a campfire. All we're saying is we don't want to kill the earth for our right to see things. That's all it boils down to. Heat, light, it's all the same. Like, it's energy. We just want to have it and not kill the earth while we're here.
Well, I hope you enjoyed this week's tangent. That's all we have for this week. Please remember, if you get an opportunity, leave us a 5-star review on your favorite podcast platform. It really helps us out more than pretty much anything. Thanks again, and we'll see you next week.
Feeling overwhelmed by climate change? Looking for sustainable and ethical brands to support? Then Ethic is perfect for you. Ethic is a simple browser extension that helps you find sustainable and ethical brands online. Learn more at ethyk.org, ethyk.org.